Okay, I want to thank Levita for the introduction. And look, everybody who's here tonight is in the right place. You are in the right place because we need to stop the way that this system gives a green light to police to brutalize and even murder people. Now, when we did this press conference this morning, the press kept saying, well, why y'all come to Cleveland? Why y'all come to Cleveland? I mean, look, why not come to Cleveland?
Why not?
Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old boy, playing with a toy gun.
Say that.
Gunned down by the police, who roll up on him and within 2 seconds kill him. When his sister runs out, hearing that her brother's been shot, to try to comfort him, they tackle her to the ground, throw her in the police car. Tamir's mother comes out to see about her son, and they threaten to arrest her. Why not come to Cleveland with a message of stop police terror? Which side are you on? And see, we got to raise that question because too many people are on the wrong side. You know, when Tamir got murdered, the head of the police union here got up and said, well, how come he didn't do what the police told him? Well, first off, 2 seconds and they killed him? What did they even have time to tell him, let alone him have time to respond? But even if they weren't lying through their teeth about giving him instructions and him refusing to respond, why is it that the 12-year-old boy has the responsibility and not the trained law enforcement person? And that's how it always comes down. It is always on the victim to do right, to keep from getting killed. Never on the so-called trained, so-called law, so-called enforcement person. And that's part of what's wrong and part of what has to stop. But right now, I can't mainly talk about Cleveland, even though I'm in Cleveland and happy to be here, because I gotta say something about Sandra Bland. I hope everybody here knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm saying it though.
That's the sister in Texas who was pulled over for improper lane change. Improper lane change. That ain't even a major traffic violation. That's a very minor traffic violation. I see people do that all the time. You don't need to pull nobody even over for that. And if you pull them over, you just give them a warning and send them on their way. But they didn't do that with Sandra. They dragged her out of the car. They beat her. They cuffed her. Took her to jail. Now the sister didn't like none of this. And she shouldn't like none of this because last time I checked, this wasn't a police state. Although in fact, that's what it is all too often, especially when you're black or Latino. It is a police state. The police are the law. They are not only the cop, they are the judge, the jury, and often the executioner. So that's what we're dealing with. But I don't know if y'all saw that video. I saw the video. That's why I got to talk about this. You know, they're talking about, well, none of our police officers went into her cell. Well, we'll deal with what happened in the cell, but what was she doing in the cell in the first place? There was absolutely no reason. She was actually taking and signing a warning, and the cop says, put out your cigarette. You know, there's a law now that you can't smoke. I mean, and I don't smoke. I don't recommend smoking, but it ain't illegal. But it became illegal because what this came down to was a black person who did not know their place. And I talked for a little bit with a 102-year-old black woman this afternoon who listened to the story that you will hear a little bit of tonight. And her response to that story was it reminded her of lynching. And that's what hit me about Sandra Bland, because if you study lynching, you would know that there were 6,000 documented lynchings in the United States in the first half of the 1900s. And if you go and look at the reason they gave for lynching the black person, the largest number of lynchings, the reason they gave, I think it was almost 2,000 times, was this person did not know their place. Now think about that. You don't know your place, and that is an executionable offense. And they didn't even bother to hide it. They wrote it down. We executed this person because they didn't know their place. Now, they usually don't write that down anymore, but the cops are doing the same thing. And what can you say about a system where police officers are empowered to murder people because they got too much attitude and they are the wrong color? What can you say about a system like that? Well, I can tell you what I say about it. I say that it is no good. It is absolutely worthless, and it needs to be gotten rid of as soon as possible. Because, look, I'm a revolutionary. I'm a representative of the Revolutionary Communist Party. I've been that for quite some time now. I don't want to completely date myself, although the sister did say I refused to go to Vietnam, which kind of lets the cat out of the bag. So I will tell you what's needed. We got to make a revolution and get rid of this system. Because, and there is potential to do that, sisters and brothers. Because look, there are horrors going down. You know, when I went to look up the murder of Sandra Bland by the police, I put it on Google, black woman killed in police custody, in order to find out about Sandra Bland. I did find out about Sandra Bland, but I found out about 7 other black women killed in police custody recently. That's an indication of how bad it is. But there is also potential to pull something out of this, to transform this. And I want to read this quote from Bob Avakian, the leader of the Revolutionary Communist Party. He wrote this right after Charleston, but it applies right now. The Charleston Massacre is what I was referring to there. There's the potential for something of unprecedented beauty to arise out of unspeakable ugliness. Black people playing a crucial role in putting an end, at long last, to this system, which has for so long not just exploited, but dehumanized, terrorized, and tormented them in 1,000 ways. Putting an end to this in the only way it can be done, by fighting to emancipate humanity, to put an end to the long night in which human society has been divided into masters and slaves. And the masses of humanity have been lashed, beaten, raped, slaughtered, shackled, and shrouded in ignorance and misery. So look, there are horrors that are coming down. But in response to those horrors, people have begun to stand up. And we in the Revolutionary Communist Party, we're throwing our all into ending those horrors once and for all. If what they do to black people in this society was the only thing wrong, that'd be reason enough to make revolution and want to get rid of this. But it's not the only thing. There's the degradation and violence on women. There's the attacks on our immigrant sisters and brothers, the devastation of the environment of the whole planet. We are working on a revolution, and that's where I'm coming from. And I always tell people about that because it's real. I'm for being real. That is also why I co-issued with Cornel West the call for October. Because look, we cannot stand aside while people are being brutalized and murdered for nothing more than the color of their skin. People have to stand up. They have to say no more to this. And right now, they have to rise up. They have to rise up because look, there's a lot of resistance that people have waged. Freddie Gray's murder in Baltimore, people rose up. In the wake of Michael Brown and Eric Garner, people began to stand up. People stood up in Milwaukee around Dontre Hamilton, many other places. But the killings continue. the authorities have doubled down on unleashing their police to brutalize and murder us. They've tried to throw confusion into the game, saying, oh no, police killing people, that's not the issue. The issue is that police are heroes who have a dangerous job and courageously do it well. I see no courage in gunning down Tamir Rice in 2 seconds. I see no courage in dragging Sandra Bland out of her car, threatening to tase her, beating her down, and arresting her for improper lane change. I see no courage in the brutality and murder these cops are laying out. We got to take things to a higher level. We can't just respond every time they do something to us, although we do have to respond. We got to go to a higher level, and that's why we issued a call for a national march in New York City, October 24th, bringing together thousands and thousands of people from around the country to come together with thousands and thousands of people in New York City to say police terror must stop. And to build up to that, we have to draw a huge dividing line in this society. We have to say to people, which side are you on? Are you on the side of the people who are determined to stop these horrors? Or are you on the side of allowing them to continue to happen? And those are the two sides. There is no middle ground. There is no neutrality. We can look into history. Was it correct for the Germans, people who like to refer to themselves as good Germans, to stand aside while Jewish people, gypsies, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people, and others were dragged off to the concentration camps in the millions? No, that was not right. And maybe they could shut their eyes and say they didn't know what was happening. But when all those people started turning up missing, somebody knew something was going on. That was wrong then, and it is wrong now, because what's coming down on Black and Latino people is a genocide. And a lot of people say, stop hyping, Carl. It's bad, but it ain't a genocide. Well, look, genocide goes through stages. The end of the genocide is when you line the folks up against the wall and shoot them or put them in the gas ovens and kill them that way. That's the end of the genocide. But it goes through a process. We're not to the end yet, and it is best not to wait till the end and then say, oh, I think we should do something about this. Let us stand up now. Let's stand together, say that this must stop. And let's challenge people who are sleepwalking past this genocide. Let's say to them, open your eyes. This is really happening. You know about Eric Garner. You know about Sandra Bland. You should easily be able to find out about some of the cases that don't make it as far into the news. And with all of this happening, how can you continue to say it ain't really what's going down? You cannot. And don't tell me, let me just get down on the ground here for a minute. Don't tell me, well, this is a problem, but it's really blacks and Latinos. It's their problem because they're the ones who mostly get killed. No, don't tell me that. Because, yes, blacks and Latinos are disproportionately targeted for brutality and murder. But let's get real about this. Blacks and Latinos are human beings. And supposedly, everybody else is too. And if you are a human being, how can you stand by and allow other human beings to be brutalized, to be murdered, and do nothing? You are surrendering your humanity in that process. So which side are you on? Are you with the people standing up to stop this? Or is it okay with you that it continue to go down? Those are the two sides. That's the question we're posing around October. And I'm going to bring it home to this audience in a little bit, but we're going to bring up some other folks to speak to you about October and why they're involved before I come back and get into this. So let me give it back to Levita. And again, you are in the right place, and we got to bring more people into this place. Not just the physical Manna's house, although you could bring some of them in here.